Hi everyone, this is Diane. I'm happy to bring you another Christmas journal. This one is more of a traditional red and green. Doesn't really have a theme beyond the fact that it's a Christmas journal and that I used red and green. But I also used a lot of ephemera that I had, both digital and taken from books and vintage. I've been wanting to really use a lot of vintage ephemera in these journals this year. So it is made with this beautiful red and green Reader's Digest book cover. It is fat. It is fatter than I normally make my books. I put too much stuff in it, but doesn't it look pretty? I used this ornament fabric on the spine and some vintage rickrack. I really wanted to use this vintage brooch that I found in a box of items from the flea market. And it has a pin on the back of it, so I just cut a square of this thick, I don't know if it's a type of felt. This side seems like kind of a felt, and then this side is fluffier. But anyway, I got that at a flea market too, in a box of stuff years ago. But I cut a little piece of that and I pinned the pin to it and then just glued it to there, so you get this fun little vintage pin on it. I just tied it with some sari silk. Now, I had ordered some stamps from Lorna at TaylorMade Journals. Lorna Taylor at TaylorMade Journals. I had said that I had shown you the piece I was going to use on the front. I was going to use this. And then these stamps came. And I was playing with the stamps. And I thought, well, that would be perfect on the front. So I embossed it in red and backed it with just a green cardstock piece and added some red and gold sequins. And I think that is what this journal needed. No wonder I couldn't be satisfied with any of the things that I kept trying, because I needed that. Now, this is a set of 2 stamps, and I don't know if she still has some available. What she does is she makes a set every month, I think, or a stamp or a set of stamps every month. And then once that month is over and what she has made is depleted, they are retired. So this is pretty new, so they might still be in her shop. There's another one that goes with it, so it was a set of 2, and I did use it inside the journal, so I'll show that to you when we get there. I cut this out of a book and used it as a book plate. I used some papers from Stampin' Up. And these images that are on the front of each signature are cut from a 1930-something magazine, Woman's Home Companion magazine, and it was a December issue. So there were a lot of beautiful Christmas images in it. This one is gathering mistletoe. Isn't that lovely? And this is just from a vintage craft magazine. I added some lace and some grosgrain ribbon to the edge there. Here's another vintage piece. 1940. Nope, 1904. So it's really old. Is that right? It says 1904. Somebody colored it. And this is just a piece of red cardstock that I embossed and rubbed some gold paint on, and I added a stamp. There's some gift wrap here. Each signature has a different piece of Christmas gift wrap, and there's a vintage gift tag there. Some of the journal pages, the digital pages, are from Tsunami Rose Christmas list, and they were printed from last year. I don't think I printed anything specifically for this journal. I did have some 1970s Christmas recipe cards. This is 1971 from Betty Crocker Recipe Card Library. So I added one in each signature. I used some of my Christmas stamps. This is a Ideals page. Just a green doily. You could glue something on there. I made a fun fabric flip here. and there's an Edith Holden page behind it. In a box of stuff at a flea market, whatever the box contained, it also included some of these lace appliques. So I used 2 in here, and I made a little tuck spot with 2 vintage gift tags. These I cut out of a craft book, a Christmas craft book, and they had a front and back pattern. So I glued them together and just tucked them in that pocket. I just glued some vintage gold rickrack to the side and another vintage gift tag. Some stamps there. Edith Holden page. This was a digital envelope, and I just tucked some leftover digital cards in there. I love the pom-pom here. This was also from that 1930s magazine, and I don't remember what the text was there, but I covered it up with washi tape. Look at that pretty design. I just glued it to cardstock and made it into a tuck spot with a digital piece and a recipe card. This is a sparkly ribbon. I glued it to cardstock and tucked a vintage Christmas card in there. Here's the other side of the Edith Holden page. This was a wreath I made with my Big Shot. This was a die that I picked up at a flea market over this, or a rummage sale over the summer. And I glued it to vellum. And this is a reproduction Christmas card, but it was printed in 1980, but it's a reproduction of an antique. And I did this on a video, so there's journaling space in there. And then this is a vintage gift tag from 1954. It's got the string on it. Remember when they used to come with strings in them? It's To Phyllis from Blanche. And you can write on that. And then I glued it on so that you could tuck a tag behind there. And I made this tag with some ledger cardstock from Seven Gypsies. And I added some vintage postage stamps to it. There's a vintage foiled poinsettia. I think that was for a package decoration. This pocket was made with my Big Shot also, with foiled red paper, metallic paper, again glued to acetate. I don't know how many of these kinds of pockets I ruined, because if I put it down wrong, then the glue would smear, and it would either smear on the acetate or on the metallic, and then it just looked ugly. So I only ended up making 2 of these pockets for this journal. I did this tag on camera also. There's only one video that showed the process of making this journal, so you can just go back and check that out if you want to. This is a coaster made for wine glass. You would put the bottom of the wine glass in the little slots there. I put it on as a pocket. Oh, sorry for the truck. Every time I do a video. This is a vintage gift tag. Again, it says from Pansy. And I tucked them in here. They were making a lot of noise out there, so I did some other stuff until it got quiet. And then I started the video. But anyway, we'll just keep going. This was from a craft book. This is, again, from that 1930s magazine. It says, Lighting the Christmas Candles. And here is just a leftover piece from a digital page. I just added some fabric to it. flip here that you can write on and then tuck something in the pocket. So I have this timely reminder from your financial friend, and it's from 1933, and it is a needle threader and pack of needles. And I added this vintage photo of a Christmas tree. 1961. Here's another really fun gift tag from all that batch of gift tags that I got at the flea market last weekend. Another gift wrap paper. This is the back cover of a music book, a Christmas Carol book. I love that stamp, the teddy bear riding the wooden rocking horse. This is from a craft book. I glued some ledger paper to the back. Sewed it to the back. And I made a fabric flip with a vintage handkerchief and a piece of fabric that had the music to Jingle Bells on it. There's another one of the lace appliques. I glued it to cardstock and cut it out. And I just glued the bottom part to the page and tucked in a vintage antique Christmas card, or postcard. Isn't that pretty? I love that. It's unused. Edith holding page. Another envelope with some digitals tucked in. Another piece from the 1930s magazine. It was a heading of an article, but it has holly. It's just so pretty. The way they did their magazines back then was just so pretty and artistic. And there's another journal card. Recipe card, I mean. Here's another greeting card that you can open up and write in. This was not used. I just love this vintage paper. This pocket was made from a wreath that I cut from vintage wrapping paper, glued to acetate. And this is a copy of a vintage postcard that I had in my collection. Here's another one of those flips. I stenciled on the inside, and I love this gift tag. This isn't from what I just purchased. I've had that in my stash for a few years. Here's the other metallic paper pocket. That's a paper coaster. I glued it to cardstock to make it a little sturdier and tucked in a couple of tags. The final signature has a couple kissing under the mistletoe. And this is a digital that I have from a card that I had in my collection, an antique card. And I love this recipe card with the stained glass cookies. And this is a photograph of someone's Christmas centerpiece with the nativity and some candlesticks, a pretty tablecloth, but they left some books and a watering can in the background. And they didn't set that picture up very well, but I have 3 copies of that picture. So you got one. Wrapping paper and a gift tag. Another fabric flip. This is an antique piece. It was with a bunch of Victorian images, and there were several images that had pieces like this, like bowls and vases and things, But this one had holly on it, so it had to go in this journal. I glued it to red cardstock, and I tucked in this vintage tag, "The World's Most Beautiful Evergreen Indoor Christmas Tree. Norfolk Island Pine." I have no idea how old that is. It was in a box of stuff that I got. I did these snowflakes in a gray ink, so it's very subtle. And this is a napkin that I Mod Podge to cardstock, and I just cut it out to make a pocket. Added some washi tape. Here's another greeting card. This one was used. It's just signed "Simply Mom." This is quite thick, so it might be a little tricky to write in. And the final acetate pocket, I think it's the final one. And this one, I used the last of my fabric poinsettia pieces that I got in a big batch of them from Leslie in her Etsy store, Vintage Paper Emporium. She doesn't have these anymore. She only had the one set, and I snatched them. Same thing, stamps on this tag. This opens up, you can write on it. This is a vintage German scrap piece. So I did use a lot of vintage items. Here's the other stamp that goes with this stamp from Lorna. It says "Winter's Greeting." It's so cute. I embossed this one in gold. And here is a vintage piece. It was cracked, the top of it cracked off, but she's so pretty, and it says "A Merry Christmas." I wanted to use this before it got ruined, so I glued her to some cardstock and just tucked her in there. Another of those wine glass coasters with some tags tucked in there, and a couple of pieces from craft books. And then on the back cover, I made this pocket, a Tim Holtz slotted pocket, and where the label piece is, I put a gift tag, and there's the last of these little figures from that craft book. I tucked him in there. Sometimes I need a little help getting underneath. I thought if I did it with that first, it would help. So I just tucked a bunch of things in here. Some were cutouts and some are digitals. Got a couple of used postage stamps. So you can take these pieces out and use them throughout the journal. And then put whatever you want in these little tucks. I just have to add one thing. I'll just sign my name here and tuck that in there. So there we go. This is going to be called Christmas Post. It says here the Elf Post service, delivery before December 25th. Really cute. Beautiful stamps, Lorna. Thank you so much, and I'm so glad it came just in time to give this journal the character that it does. It's just perfect. Thank you everybody for watching. I think the next Christmas journal will be Santa's Toy Shop, because I have some items that would go well in that journal that I want to use, including these that I just got from the flea market. So come on back to see how that one turns out, and this is in my shop when you see this video. You can follow the link below and get this journal. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you in the next video. Have a creative day today. Bye-bye.